Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The issue of whether or not to support the so-called Geza revolution has arisen again and again without being properly resolved. The issue really is, like so many people suspected at the very beginning, that this so-called Geza revolution is nothing but a repeat of the 2017 military coup, which people supported, thinking that it was going to deliver the democratic changes that the nation has been waiting for. The truth of the matter is, it did not. And so the dictatorship perpetuated. We cannot keep on repeating the same mistakes over and over again. That is absurd. Here is Geza paying lip service to the concerns that people have arisen.
Can we be trusted? This is a question on the back of many people's minds. Because many, a time in Zimbabwe, we have seen hijacked revolutions. So it is genuine for you to ask, if this revolution is genuine, the answer is very simple. Very simple. As war veterans, what have we to gain through deceit? Nothing. We have reached the afternoon of our lives. We are not going to be alive for long. But if we die and leave this country under such tyrannic rule, we would have wasted our efforts. We won't do that, never again. We are doing this not for us, but for the future. The idea is to embrace every Zimbabwean, everyone without exception. This is not a fight for one party or one person, no. There will be no repeat of 2017. There is no Chunu in this space of this thing. It's ours together. Maybe what happened in 2017 was many, but it was said. Many of us invested money, personal resources to fund Operation Restore Legacy. We lost millions with the hope of restoring this country to a democracy, but little did we know that we were fighting for thieves. We are wiser and clever now.
Well, Ben, have you been convinced?
Uh, if this was the first, interview, and this was said at the very beginning, I sincerely believe a lot of people would have bought into it, But unfortunately, a lot was said, and a lot is now known. It's it shows, and I was actually having a discussion with one of my peers to say, these guys need us now more than ever. This is now desperation. Our value just went up, And if anything, we should be the ones to lay the terms and conditions. You know, unfortunately, to answer your question, unfortunately, I don't buy into it because of previous things he said. And I believe he sincerely meant it.
Well, this is what he said.
saka munowina sei imuchionero wachinjeni
aiwaga mina ndikutaurire imwe zvinhu zvinoitika hanini ndiri kutokutaurira kuratidza kuti hatina kupusaka because ndiri kutokutaurira kuti tozviziva takapusaka ndisikakutauriri zvese we'll deal with this situation at the appropriate time but ndiri kutotaura kuti commander vamunangagwa right navachiwenga handidi right ngavadissolve policy bureau tikwane isu varidzi vechunhu ngavadissolve cabinet inodzinana kazembe vana soda vanani havambodziutaga vane kupani ivavo vane kambamuda vanani why do you hate your comrades kune mageneral kune maretired cio vakawanda kune maretired commissioners of police and other senior officers vakawanda havadiwe.
Maybe the president is looking at capacity and capability.
Bullshit. Vana grade 7 ane capacity and capability. Grade 7 oita busy yokuinzi nhasi aitwa minister of state mangwana provincial minister isiripo. We are not apologetic about it. Chinhu chedu ichi toda kutopinda ndoda kuti president vanipo zimota varipo chi ndoda mabodyguards ini.
But you've got your own cars. You've got a hotel at your house that you built in Sanyat. Why do you want all this?
I want to be rewarded as well, not to be used like a political condom all the time. I'm not a political condom. And urikona vana mahiya vaya vana vamwe.
Well, the truth of the matter is, the war veterans genuinely believe that they fought in the liberation war and therefore they've got a right to have the veto in Zimbabwe's politics. That has been ingrained into them by ZANU-PF leaders like Robert Mugabe and so forth. For people to keep on pretending that somehow the war veterans have changed is, to say the least, naive. We need to move on. These guys firmly believe that because they were involved in the liberation war, they have the right. In the picture there is the number of bicycles that were being distributed in one of the districts ever since Geza launched his so-called Geza revolution. Mnangagwa was trying to buy the loyalty of some of those war veterans. That is the reality we are looking at. The war veterans are getting bicycles. A few of them have had houses built for them with solar panels and boreholes, as if the economic hardships that millions of Zimbabweans are facing today is affecting only the war veterans. When is the ordinary Zimbabwean going to get a bicycle from the regime? Indeed, people don't want handout from the government. There is no way the country is going to prosper from handouts. We want to create a political system in which the government's number one purpose is to create the economic environment where everyone can prosper. And 45 years after independence, we have got an economic situation where some of the war veterans are so poor that getting a bicycle is a big thing to them. They could have never afforded the bicycle on their own. And indeed, some of these bicycles, when they were handed over to them a couple of months ago now, if it has a puncture, some of these war veterans don't even have the money to get it properly repaired. That is the economic situation in Zimbabwe. We want a political system which works for everybody. And to think that these war veterans have somehow graduated to that is naive. Geza and company are now speaking against Mnangagwa because they are no longer at the top table. They are no longer getting a fair share of the looting, of the looted wealth. And that's why they are complaining. They've never made it a secret that if they were the Geza revolution was to succeed, they would want Chiwenga to take over. Who is Chiwenga? Don't we all know who Chiwenga is? He's the man who led the military coup and has been vice president ever since the 2017 military coup. He has contested in the 2018 election and 2023 elections. He knows that ZANU-PF rigged those elections. Did he complain about it? Of course not. He was the one who was even boasting that ZANU-PF will crush the opposition like lice. I think the whole idea that one should join the so-called Geza movement is absurd. I think it only shows that some people have got a serious intellectual problem. They cannot think rationally. Just as there is no rational reason for participating in flawed and illegal elections to give ZANU-PF legitimacy, there is no rational reason to join the Geza movement to perpetuate the ZANU-PF dictatorship. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
In closing, I would want to say, just to take a few lines from what Comrade Geza had said, to say, in 2017, they sacrificed a lot so that Zimbabwe, Zimbabweans can have a democracy. I mean, that is a lie. And I mean, straight after the coup, we had our first, presidential elections or national elections, under Mnangagwa. And, that led to killing at the end of the day. So you cannot just now stand up and say, we tried and you gave us this guy in the first place. You were saying you were going to give us another guy, through Chiwenga. It doesn't show any democracy in there. Maybe I'm missing the part, but that is not how democracy works. The people ought to have free, fair, and credible elections, and from those elections, a winner, chosen by the people, will lead the country from thereafter. I really do feel sorry, for the position that they find themselves in, they really thought people were that naive and they could easily con them. But congratulations to Zimbabweans that actually realized that these guys are a farce. They're just up to push their own narrative. At the end of the day, there is nothing for them, and they have realized it, and now they're coming now, pushing the sad story that I am sorry. It's unfortunate.
Well, the bottom line is, ever since Geza and his friends denounced Mnangagwa and the so-called 2030 push to amend the constitution, they've had all this time to explain how things are going to be any different from the 2017 military coup, which the people supported, thinking it will deliver democratic change. They failed to come up with any meaningful assurance that things are going to change. The truth of the matter is, they really do not have any commitment to democratic change. Chiwenga, if he was to get in, be it before the 2028 elections, or be it if he's going to be the ZANU-PF candidate for 2028, he will be committed to consolidating his own hold on power by rigging the 2028 elections. That is a fact. Chiwenga is not a Democrat. Geza himself is not a Democrat. We've had 45 years of rigged elections. These war veterans have been behind the ZANU-PF dictatorship all that long. It is really disappointing that any Zimbabwean at all would still be considering that Geza and his so-called revolution could be the answer to the nation's problems. Very tragic. We need to move on as a people. We need to realize that this is just a dead end and start looking for real solutions to our problems. And the real solution, we have reiterated it on this platform, is to make sure that we do not participate in any more of these flawed elections to give ZANU-PF legitimacy. That is the way forward. Let's get on with it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.